Sports cards are not stocks. They are not commodities. We will talk about it in this video. Stick around. Hello to all my sports card collectors, investors, all of my collectibles friends. How are we? We are back for another sports card collectibles video. Guys, if you are new here, please hit that big red button below the subscribe button, the likes, the notifications, all the stuff. We come out with just about daily sports card and collectibles videos. Thanks again for joining us here. Also, please connect with me on Instagram, on IG at SportsCardDad, and Twitter, the Sports Card Dad. Let's go ahead and dive right into this. And so I was watching a video by one of my favorite content creators. Cards and Comics is the name of this channel. He does not have enough subs, enough love. So definitely go out and check Cards and Comics. What I really like is he does deep dives into different parts, different analysis into different parts of cards, comic books, etc. And he really nailed it, I think, in a recent video. How fast were sports cards growing prior to 2020? And I'll put a link in the description of this video. And as he's talking about kind of percentages and cards going up, various cards, he makes an excellent point here in this video that sports cards cannot be compared to a share of stock because of eye appeal, because they are all different. So even though you might have a Michael Jordan rookie card, there's so much different variance to each one of the Michael Jordan rookie cards. Whereas if you're looking at a share of stock, nobody cares about the eye appeal, the look of the share of stock. It is what it is. It's kind of like when you look at with gold. You know, gold is valued at whatever gold is valued at. It doesn't matter, what shape it's in, etc. It's gold is gold, and it's valued as such. And it's similar with a share of stock. Sports cards and collectibles are alternative investments. And this video is not going to really tackle the which market is best to buy into, because it really all depends on you, the individual, as to what you like and what you don't like and what you choose to put your money into. And so this is not what this is. It's not that the stock market should be 1 to sports cards 2 to crypto 3 or whatever. That's all up to you all to figure out, and for me to figure out too. And frankly, it's not very easy to figure out right now. The world is economically in a very weird spot. I consider sports cards and collectibles more or less a store of value. They don't have earnings reports. They don't pay out dividends, and that's why they're not traditional investments in part. We talk a lot on the channel about pricing of different sports cards, and the majority of the value in sports cards, and I know a lot of the modern, ultra-modern people are going to get at me over this, but a lot of the real value, in my opinion, is in vintage cards. That's where really kind of over time, you've seen kind of a proven track record, and these are players that have already had careers, are already retired. You already know what you're getting, essentially, for the most part. A lot of them might be deceased, so they can't do anything stupid in the media to affect their prices. With modern, ultra-modern, you have got a ton of money poured into a lot of very new players that frankly are not going to work out. We've talked about this. This is a high stakes game now. Whereas when I was collecting, when we were going back to the early 90s with Harold Miner and Calvert Chaney rookie cards, I always like to use those as an example. Bubby Brister, guys, let's go back in time a little bit. But the majority of athletes, the vast majority are not going to be LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Tom Brady. 99.5, 99.7%, whatever. You get the point. Most of them are not going to be. So when you see 6-figure sales on guys that are 2 years, 3 years, 5 years into their career, there might be value right now sitting in those cards, but some of those are going to tank tremendously. They're going to tank tremendously because some of these guys are not going to be the next whoever. And how do you think that's going to affect their card prices over time? Just look back. You can kind of look back and see where guys just haven't panned out. There's been a lot of excitement around them. One guy in particular, when I think about Zion Williamson, Larry Johnson is a guy I reference on the channel all the time. This guy was kind of the Zion back in 1991, and he had a great 10-year career. He had back injuries. He had injuries that slowed him down, but the guy was exciting. He was a very exciting player. A newer example of this would be Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin, another really exciting player in the NBA, and a lot of people chased his cards when he came out, and he's had a good career. It's not a guy that had ended up being a bust or had a bad bad career, but are you spending, huge money? Are you buying six-figure cards of Blake Griffin? And if you had, where would they be? And so going back to, what Cards and Comics is talking about with eye appeal, there is such a variance in vintage card prices because of eye appeal. You kind of see and hear this all the time with vintage cards. And I bought actually a 61 Fleer Jerry West in action rookie card. It's a PSA 5. The centering on it is tremendous. It has better centering than 7s and 8s that I've seen, but it doesn't have as tight of corners and it doesn't have, the edges and the, surface, whatever. But there's so much variance. People have different tastes based on whatever that card looks like. Some people would say, I want nicer corners than centering or whatever. And so beauty is in the eye of the beholder with collectibles in a lot of ways. And that has a tremendous impact on pricing. With stocks, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the look of that share of stock looks like. It just doesn't matter. Market manipulation, it exists in all markets to some extent, but where collectibles is and sports cards, it can get a little hairy, is these are low volume trades. We'll use kind of a stock term, low volume in terms of sales for these. So when we're looking at pricing, and even if we're talking about base Zion, Luka, Prism rookie cards, you think like, oh, those are abundant. Absolutely. Those are very abundant cards. But in comparison to stocks where you're trading, where there's millions of shares trade, even in crypto, which of course, crypto is not regulated, but there is a lot of movement in crypto. There's a lot of shares, if you will, moving around. That collectibles, NFTs can be manipulated is whales can move those markets. Whales, and what I mean by whales are these are high net worth people that are moving big sums of money. So this is not the average Joe. This is simply someone that has millions and millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars can very easily move a particular segmented card market. And not even just football cards, but just a specific card. LeBron James, Topps Chrome, Michael Jordan 86 Fleer. This is a very specific card, but if you have enough money and you buy up all of that inventory, you've got 20 PSA 10s of whatever card we're talking about. The whale can come in and find 12 of them or find 15 of them or whatever. And then they can they own them. So if anyone wants them, they have to come in and pay the price that the whale basically is holding at. One example of this that I found a couple of months ago, I made a video on it as well, was Tom Brady Flawless. I think I looked up Flawless National Treasures, Tom Brady autos and patch autos and different things. So we were looking on eBay and I noticed that all of them were the same price. All of these Flawless autos, different years, different patches, they were all like $100,000, so these like really high prices, and it's the same seller for all of them. So literally and maybe this is a group of buyers or whatever, but it was one eBay seller that was selling a ton of Tom Brady patch auto cards, beautiful cards, but they put those prices way up there with best offer, of course. But the idea I think behind that is, hey, we're going to buy up all the Flawless whatever, and then we'll just set the price on it. And if we sell them, we sell them. But if anyone wants to get in on them, they're going to have to pay our price. Whales can move markets in that way. They can come in, they can put a lot of money into specific cards, specific segments, and own kind of those segments if they choose to do so. Whereas in the stock market, is there market manipulation? Yeah, there is. There certainly is. But the difference is let's just use, Apple stock. Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway is his company. 49% of all of Berkshire Hathaway's holdings are Apple. 49%. So you might be thinking like, man, he owns like the whole company, right? He owns 5% of Apple and 49% of this massive Berkshire Hathaway conglomerate are Apple, and he owns 5%. Now, of course, if Berkshire sells off all their shares, can they move the market on Apple? Yeah, they can, but there's enough shares out there. There's enough out there and enough interest and demand for Apple stock to where even Warren Buffett, whose company owns, whose half of their company is in this one stock in Apple, still would have a fairly limited effect. And we would consider Berkshire as a whale in the space. That's very different in collectibles. Honestly, if Warren Buffett wanted to come in and make some moves in collectibles, he could very easily do so, and prices would be moving all over the place. And so there can be vulnerabilities there with low volume trading. And I've heard AIH Sports, Raul, he's talked about this as well, because, and also compared to penny stocks. Penny stocks are kind of similar to where it's literally a penny stock, and then you have movement into that stock. The whale comes in, buys up the shares, gets excitement, then sells off. And the people that kind of chased it up, they get hosed. And so that's collectibles. They're not penny stocks, but they have the ability to operate like penny stocks if we're not careful. And the last point I'm going to touch on today is tax implications for collectibles and for stock market trades are different. And to be honest with you, I think the taxes are boring, so I'm not doing a deep dive into it. And also, I'm not an expert. I have a CPA, and I would just say that consult with a CPA on tax stuff. But if you're looking at each one or both or whatever, they are different in the way that they are taxed. So definitely check that out with your tax professional. Guys, thank you very much for joining me here today for this one. This is kind of one of those finance cards, all the things mixed in. I like to do these types of videos. I hope that you have an awesome rest of your day. Stay healthy, stay awesome. I will talk to you again later.